हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
माता जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम. Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna, Balaram माता जी, ललिता माता जी, हरे कृष्ण.
हरे
वेणु
कृष्ण प्रभु जी दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण वेणु प्रभु. हरे कृष्ण सचदेव प्रभु से शिवली माता जी.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी.
हरे कृष्ण शिल्पा माता जी. Who is this mom? Mata ji, this phone number I can see, iPhone 998-535. Hare Krishna Lilananda Prabhu Dhanat Pranam. So we'll start the class with prayers. So,
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna Ma Padma Mata ji Dhanat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Let's start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगणा ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी रावणेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायण स्तुत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंद गोप कुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. नमो महावधन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः. नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रे. नमो ब्रह्मण्याय देवाय गो ब्राह्मण्याय हिताय च जगत हिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. नमः ओम कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी निति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे चालुं पंगुं लयते गुरुं यत्कृपातुमाहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्द माधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम् ओम अपवित्रो पवित्रतो पीवाय स्मरेत पुण्डरीकाक्षं सबाह्याभ्यन्तरशुचिः श्री विष्णु हरे कृष्ण pranam to all Prabhujis and Matajis. Thank you for coming for a Saturday morning Bhagavatam class. Start keeping people unmute. Okay. Wish you very happy New Year and thank you for coming to a Saturday Bhagavatam class. This is going to be Canto 9, Chapter 6. So last week we had opportunity of a couple of classes, right? Last week we have seen the class regarding Durvasa Muni. What do you call it? Durvasa Muni is how his life has been spared, basically. Last week, Prasad Prabhu and Raghunandan Prabhu has taken that class. And then we had a special class on Ekadashi from Lilananda Prabhu. So in continuation to those classes, so I'm going to take care of the Canto 9, Chapter 6, right? Canto 9, Chapter 6. This is the downfall of Saurabha Muni. So this canto is called liberation. Okay, this canto is called liberation, mukti. What it means, basically, all the stories from this canto should lead to liberation, basically. So today we are going to see the downfall of Saurabha Muni. This chapter has 55 shlokas, but most of the shlokas don't have purports. It talks about the what do you call it? The lineage of Saurabha Muni's wife's side. Saurabha Muni gets married and he marries king's daughters, and the lineage of the kings is what is talked about mostly in this chapter. So let's not so much worry about the purports, but there are few slokas that has purports that itself should be sufficient to get liberation. So we'll focus on those slokas. So, and because we are doing the entire chapter, let's go through the summary of the chapter, which should give us an overview of the entire chapter, basically. Okay. So let's go through the summary first. The downfall of Saurabha Muni, and then this chapter has the following summary. After describing the descendants of Maharaja Ambarisha, Sukadeva Goswami described all the kings from Sasada to Mandata. So, okay, Sasada nunchi Mandata, right? And in this connection, he also described how great says Saurabha Saubhari Rishi married the daughters of Mandata. So what we are seeing is the lineage of Mandata from Ambarisha. So that's where we left with the Ambarisha, and then so Sukadeva Goswami is explaining the lineage of Ambarisha till Mandata, King Mandata, and then because the importance here is the Saubhari Muni marrying the daughters of the King Mandata. All right, let's go through. Maharaj Ambarisha has three sons named Virupa, Kuma, Shambhu. The son of Virupa was Prasad. Sorry, the son of Virupa was Prasadva, and his son was Ratidhara. Ratidhara had no sons, but when he requested the favor of great sage Angira, the sage begot several sons in the womb of Ratidhara's wife. When the sons were born, they became the dynasty of Angira Rishi and Ratidhara. The son of Manu was Ikshvaku, who had 100 sons, of whom Vikukshi, Nimi, and Dandaka were the eldest. The sons of Maharaj Ikshwaku became kings of different parts of the world. Because of violating sacrificial rules and regulations, one of those sons, Vikukshi, was banished from the kingdom. By the mercy of Vasishtha, the power of mystic yoga, Maharaja Ikshwaku attained liberation after giving up his material body. When Maharaj Ikshwa expired, his son Vikukshi returned and took charge of the kingdom. He performed various types of sacrifices, and thus he pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Vikukshi later became celebrated as Sashada. Vikukshi's son fought with the demons for the sake of the demigods, and because of his valuable service, he became famous as Purunjaya. Then Indravrata and famous as Purunjaya, Indravrata, and Kakusta. The son of Purunjaya was Anina, and the son of Anina was Puthu, and the son of Puthu was Viswagandhi. The son of Viswagandhi was Chandra. The son of Chandra was Yonvasa, and his son was Sravasta, who constructed Sravastipuri. The son of Sravasta was son of Brahadswa. Brahadswa's son Kovalyavasa killed a demon called Dundu, and thus he became celebrated as Dundumara, the killer of Dundu. The son of the killer of Dundu was Vadispa, and the whole lineage goes on like that. He also has thousands of other sons, but they burned to ashes in the fire emanating from Dundu. So there's the story of the fighting with the demon, and that's how he lost his son. So anyway, let's keep going. So Yuvanswa married 100 wives, but he had no sons, and therefore he entered the forest. In the forest, the sages performed a sacrifice known as Indra Yajna on his behalf. Once, however, the king became so thirsty in the forest, and he drank the water kept for performing yajna. Consequently, after some time, a son came forth from the right side of his abdomen. The son, who was very beautiful, was trying to drink breast milk, and Indra gave the child his index finger to suck. Thus, the son became Mandata. In due course of time, achieved the perfection by performing austerities. Therefore, Mandata became the emperor and ruled the earth, which consists of 7 islands. Thieves and rogues were very much afraid of this powerful king, and therefore the king was known as Trasadyu, meaning one who is very fearful to rogues and thieves. Mandata begot sons in the womb of his wife, Bindumati. These sons were Purukshata, Ambarisha, and Muchkunda. These 3 sons had 50 sisters. All of them became wives of the great sage called Saubhari. So this is our interest basically. So you're reading through the entire lineage, but the king Mandata has 50 daughters, and Saubhari Muni married the 50 daughters, and that led to the downfall of Saubhari Muni. That's what we'll be talking about today. In this connection, Sukadeva Goswami described the history of Saubhari Muni, who became who because of sensual agitation caused by fish fell from his yoga and wanted to marry all the daughters of Mandata for sexual pleasure. Later, Saubhari Muni became very regretful. Thus, he had accepted the order of Vanaprastha, performed very severe austerities, thus attained perfection. In this regard, Sukadeva Goswami described how Saubhari Muni wives also became perfect. So these are points of our interest basically. So how you perfect your own life and how you perfect your dependents' lives. The wives of Saubhari Muni also became perfect because of how perfection attained by Saubhari Muni. So with this background, we'll start this chapter, and probably we'll go through this. Though the 55 shlokas, we'll go through like 6 or 7 purports that are very important. So let's start with the first shloka. So I'm not going through the shloka because we have 55 shlokas. We'll go through the translation and move on. Sukadeva Goswami said, "O Maharaj Parikshit, Ambarisha had three sons named Virupa, Ketuman, and Sambhu. From Virupa came the son named Prasadvasa, and from Prasadvas came the son named Ratithara." So we'll go to the second translation in purport. Does anybody wants to read the second translation in purport for me?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Read, Prabhu, please.
Translation. Ridhara had no sons, and therefore he requested the great sages Angira to beget sons for him. Because of this request, Angira begot sons in the womb of Datyahara's wife. All these sons were born with the Brahminical powers. Purport. In the Vedic age, a man was sometimes called upon a beget sons in the womb of a lesser man's wife for the sake of better progeny. In such an instance, the woman is compared to an agriculture field. A person processing an agriculture field may employ another person to produce food grains from it. But because the grains are produced from the land, they are considered the property of the owner of the land. Similarly, a woman was sometimes allowed to be impregnated by someone other than her husband, but the sons born of her would then become her husband's son. Such sons are called kshetrajata. Because Ratidhara had no sons, he took advantage of this method. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji Matas, this is the Vedic practice that we are talking about here. So, when husband is not able to get children from his wife, then they are allowed. We see this in the story of Pandavas when Panduraju could not, have children because of his this thing. Then Kunti Devi has the boon of praying somebody and get impregnated. So again, this is not a practice of Kali Yuga, but again, certain things to read from this. We read in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "I have created the world into four ashramas based on their guna." So the ashrama is based on guna, not by birth. So here, again, if you look at it here, they become sons of the father and not sons of the biological or someone who is actually, I would not even use the word biological basically, but who has been responsible for their birth. So this is one of, I felt when I was reading this is where the guna does not come entirely from the birth. The guna does not come entirely from the birth, but you have certain inherent guna based on your previous karmas, previous vasanas, and then the way you are brought up. No, the way you were brought up. Again, when we say the way you are brought up, the circumstances under which you are being groomed, it nourishes your guna to makes you a particular character, a particular type of personality. We see this in case of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was born to Hiranyakashipu, but he does not have the attributes of Hiranyakashipu basically, because the way he is being brought up has been influenced even before his birth by Narada Muni. And then he also has his previous birth sukritis, basically. Again, your sukriti is your own. So your sukriti is not coming from your lineage. So these are the things. If you go through the whole chapter, through the summary also, we have seen how different kings' sons behave differently. The son does not mean to have the same attribute or character like his father, but at the same time, he would have the attributes of his father, not because his father has given him birth, but because his father has raised him, basically. Right. So this is the story of these people that had the prowess of Brahminical and Kshatriya. So with that, we'll go into the third shloka. Having been born from the womb of Ratidhara's wife, all the sons were known as the dynasty of Ratidhara. But because they were born from the semen of Angira, they were also known as the dynasty of Angira. Among all the progeny of Ratidara, three sons were the most prominent because owing to their birth, they were considered Brahmana. So they had the characters of both, basically. Sri Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the meaning of Dvijatiya as mixed caste, indicating a mixture of Brahmana and Kshatriya. So, so there is an element of attribute from the parental, from the genetic, but again, mostly based on how you grow up is what makes your character, basically, right? Then we'll go to shloka number 4. Can anybody read me the shloka 4?
చదవమంటారా ప్రభుజీ?
Yes.
హరే
Krishna.
కృష్ణ.
Vijayamata.
And the son of Manu was Ikshwaku. When Manu was sneezing, Ikshwaku was born from Manu's nostrils. King Ikshwaku had 100 sons, of whom Vikukshi, Nimi, and Dandaka were the most prominent. పర్పట్ కూడా చదవమంటారా? Hare Krishna. According to Sridhara Swami, although the Bhagavatam 9.1.11.12 has previously included Ikshwaku among the 10 sons begotten by Manu in his wife Shraddha. This was a generalization. It is here specifically explained that Ikshwaku was born simply from the sneezing of Manu. Hare Krishna.
So
Thank you.
Ikshwaku was born from sneezing of Manu. We have seen another story where somebody being born from the nostrils. Does anybody remember?
Varahadeva.
Rahadeva from the nostril of
Brahma.
Yes. Again, this is the second occasion I'm seeing that. I thought when we were reading that Varahadeva Hiranyakashipu story, I thought because Lord Vishnu can come from anywhere he wants, and he comes from the nostril of Brahma. But here we see it even in the materialistic this thing. Ikshwaku comes from the nostril of Manu. Probably then in those days there is a technical some scientific mechanism to even get birth like that, basically, right? Then 6.5. Somebody wants to read the translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of the 100 sons, 25 became kings in the western side of Aryavarata, a place between the Himalayas and Vindhya mountains. Another 25 sons became kings in the east of Aryavarata, and 3 principal sons became kings in the middle. The other sons became kings in various other places. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So then the whole story continues, basically. Then we have the Pitru Pakshat talking about that. During the months of January, February, and March, oblations offered to the forefathers are called Ashtaka Shraddha. The Shraddha ceremony is held during the dark fortnight of the month when Maharaj Ikshwaku was performing his obligations. In this ceremony, he ordered his son Vikukshi to go immediately to the forest and bring some pure flesh. And again, this is a practice in those days. Again, this is all not the practice of Kali Yuga. So I think we should skip these particular shlokas for the interest of both time and read through what we need mostly for our story for Saurabha Muni. So I'm going to skip this. Let's go through next two. So we already went through the summary. This is where we see how they, how different the people in the lineage have left the kingdom or came back to the kingdom and go on and so on. So we'll go to Loka like 25, 26, 25. Let's go to 25. 26. So from here we go. The son of Nikumba was Bahulaswa, and the son of Bahulaswa was Kristvaswa, and the son of Kristvaswa was Sanjit. Okay, although from here, from 26, will somebody read 26 for me?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavatana.
Alamani Mataji, chadavandi.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Although Yuvanasva went into the forest with his 100 wives, all of them were very Moors. The sages in the forest, however, being very kind to the king, began very carefully and attentively performing an Indra Yajna so that the king might have a son. Purport. One may enter the Vanaprastha order of life with his wife, but the Vanaprastha order means complete retirement from household life. Although King Yavanasva retired from family life, he and his wives
Yes. Were always morose
were
because he had no.
always Moors because he had no son.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
thank you, Mom. Yavanasvudu had 100 wives, but he had no son. So that was his. So in the old in the Vedic literature, Vedic times, having a son is important because he's the one who liberates you from Pitralokas, basically. So he entered Vanaprastha. One may enter Vanaprastha order of life with his wife, but Vanaprastha order means complete retirement from household life. Although King Yuvanasva was retired from family life, he and his wives were always morose because he had no son. So the Brahmanas, understanding this, that he's worried about son, so they performed the sacrifices, basically. Indra Puja. They did Indra Puja, sacrifice, Indra Yajna. So that, and then they collected some sacred water that his wives are supposed to drink. But what happened is that one night in the Vanaprastha ashram, when he's there, one night he became thirsty and he drinks that water. Being thirsty one night, the king entered the arena of the sacrifice. When he saw all the Brahmanas lying down, he personally drank the sacrificed water meant to be drunk by his wife. Yajna performed by Brahmanas according to Vedic ritualistic ceremonies are so potent that the sanctifying of water by Vedic mantras can bring about the desired result. In this instance, the Brahmanas sanctified the water so that the king's wife might drink it in the yajna. But by the providence of the king himself, went there at night and being thirsty, drank the water. So what happened is that he drank the water his wives are supposed to drink. And when Brahmanas got up from the bed and saw the water pot empty, they inquired who had done this work of drinking the water meant for begetting a child. When the king realized he drank the water, when the Brahmanas came to understand that the king, inspired by the supreme controller, has drunk the water, they all exclaimed, "Alas, the power of the providence is real power. No one can counteract the power of the supreme." In this way, they offered their respectful obeisances unto the Lord, and as a result, he gets a child. Therefore, in due course of the time, the son with all good symptoms of powerful king came forth from the lower right side of King Yuvasvana abdomen. So then the man became the father basically. The child came out of his right side of the abdomen. From Yonaswa's abdomen, he cut open the abdomen and he came out, basically. This is another thing we see. Where else we see somebody coming out of a male personality? You guys, anybody remember? Male person coming out of male person. in Bhagavatam?
From Venu Maharaj.
Yeah, correct, Mataji. From Venu, King Venu, the Prudu Maharaj and his consort, both of them come out basically, right? Yes. So also the Vedic system of the Brahmanas are so powerful that anything can happen basically. But the baby, not knowing that it came out of a male body, the baby cried so much for breast milk that all Brahmanas were very unhappy. Who will take care of this baby? It's I said. Then Indra, because they were doing Indra Puja, Indra was very pleased with the whole puja, and he's the one who gave the power of to the this holy water. So he came back, and the Indra who was worshipped in the yajna came and solaced the baby. Do not cry, Indra said. Then Indra put his index finger in baby's mouth and said, "You may drink me." Basically, so this little child, because Yonaswara, the father of the baby, was blessed with the Brahmanas, he did not fall a victim to death. After this incident, he performed several austerities and achieved perfection in that very spot. So, because of this thing of Indra, this baby became Mandata, became a wonderful king because he was born out of with a lot of pious activities of the father and in the Vanaprastha stage for the father basically. Mandata, the son of Yonaswa, was the cause of the fear of Ravana and other thieves and rogues who caused anxiety. O King Parikshit, because they feared him, the son of Yonaswa was known as Trasadyu. This name was given by the king Indra, by the mercy of Supreme Personality Godhead, the son of Yonaswa. Yonaswa was so powerful that when he became emperor, he ruled the entire world, consisting of seven islands without second ruler. So that's the other side of the story. We came until the Mandata. So Mandata. So from there we will get the connection to Sobhar Muni. So let's go to the shloka where Sobhar Muni gets, okay, we're at 35, 36. Let's go through this sequential shlokas. Anybody wants to read this shloka? That is the purport from 35, 36?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I will read.
Hare Krishna. Sujata Mataji.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not different from the auspicious aspect of great sacrifices, such as the ingredients of the sacrifice, the chanting of Vedic hymns, the regulative principles, the performer, the priest, the result of the sacrifice, the arena of sacrifice, and the time of sacrifice. Knowing the principle of self-realization, Mandata worshipped that transcendently situated Supreme Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who comprises all the demigods. He also gave immense charity to the Brahmanas, and thus he performed yajna to worship the Lord. Hare Krishna.
This purport, this translation, this sloka alone is very powerful. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not different from the auspicious aspects of great sacrifice, such as the ingredients of the sacrifice, the chanting of the Vedic. All of them are different aspects of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The regulative principles, the performer, the priest, the results of the sacrifice, the arena of the sacrifice, and the time of sacrifice. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, where Lord says, when you read the Vibhutis chapter, the Lord's Vibhutis, the chapter 11, where the Lord says, I am so and so, I am so and so, I am the Omkara, I am the Arjuna, I am the most cheater of the cheaters, and like that, basically like that. If you look at it here again, Sukadeva Goswami is saying in his the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not different from the auspicious aspects of great sacrifices, such as the ingredients of the sacrifice. So the presence of Lord has to be found in every element that is around us. We have to understand, we figure out a way to see the presence of Lord in every aspect, basically. If you are not able to see Lord in anything around us, you are only going to see Maya. The moment you are seeing Maya, which means you are misusing your freedom. The little freedom that we have is what what is not letting us see Lord in everything around us. The priest, the performer, the result of the sacrifice, the arena of the sacrifice, anything that is auspicious, anything that is spiritual, you should be able to see the presence of Lord. If you are not able to see the presence of Lord, which means you are only seeing your own presence, basically. And the time of sacrifice, even the time of sacrifice is an element of Lord, because the Lord is the Kala. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm the time factor, basically. Knowing the principles of self-realization, Mandata worshipped that transcendentally situated supreme soul. So again, we see when we see the Lord in a temple, and when we see the Lord in a sacrificial arena like this, it is easy to bow down, but at every element we have to see the presence of Supreme Soul, and we have to bow down at every second of our life, basically. That's what Mandata was able to do. He was worshipped that transcendentally situated Supreme Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, who comprises of all the demigods. He also gave immense charity to the Brahmanas, and thus he performed yajna to worship the Lord. So this is the character of Mandata. So he's able to see the moment you are able to see the super soul's presence in everyday life, you will be able to see how little or how small your role is of the things that are happening around you. So once you are able to get to that state of mind, you get immense courage that you are being protected by something very big, though it is called super soul and very small, but that's the one that is protecting you at every element of your life, basically. If you are able to see that connection, life will be a simple, happy, wonderful spiritual journey, basically, right? All places from where the sun rises on the horizon, shining brilliantly, to where the sun sets, are known as the possession of the celebrated Mandata, the son of Yosva. Right, let's get on to 38 shloka. Then Mandata begot 3 sons in the womb of Bindumati, the daughter of Sashabindu. These sons were Purukshata, Ambarisha, and Muchkunda, the great mystic yogi. These 3 brothers had 50 sisters who all accepted great sage Saubhari as their husband. So from here, we'll talk about Saubhar Muni. So let us read a little bit of Saubhar Muni. So who wants to read about Saubhar Rishi? Hey Krishna, anybody wants to read the translation purport?
Will I do it again, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Akinchand.
Saubhari Rishi was engaged in austerity deep in water of the river Yamuna when he saw a pair of fish engaged in sexual affairs. Then he pursued the pleasure of sex life, and induced by the desire, he went to King Mandata and begged for one of the king's daughter. In response to his request, the king said, "O Brahmana, any of my daughters may accept any husband according to her personal selection." Purpose. This is the beginning of the story of Saubhari Rishi. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, Mandata was the king of Mathura, and Saubhari Rishi was engaged in austerity while submerged deep within the river Yamuna. When the Rishi felt sexual desire, he emerged from the water and went to the king Mandata to ask that one of the king's daughter becomes his wife. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. So Saubhara Rishi was like in a Jala Samadhi, basically, right? He controls his breaths, and he could stay without breathing in water. You have this Ashtanga yoga techniques. Based on that, you can achieve certain powers, and he has the power. He attains this power of being able to sit in penance, like tapas, inside the water. He thinks when you're sitting inside the water, you're less disturbed, basically. So here, some of the things that we should observe are Saubhar Muni's ability as a rishi, the yogic powers he has, that can make him sit inside the water. But what happened is, when he's inside the water and he's doing his tapasa, he saw two little fish, one male fish, one female fish, nicely interacting with each other, and that triggered certain element of desire of for him, when he's seeing these two fishes nicely enjoying the pleasure of each other, he got the desire of wanting to enjoy the pleasure of the opposite gender, basically. So we have seen these kind of cases in Vishwamitra, where Vishwamitra by the sound of the bells of Manaka gets disturbed, and then the second time by Urvasi, Vishwamitra gets again disturbed, and the third time he what do you call it? He understands that penance alone is not sufficient for me. That penance has to be so it has to be converged into spiritual desire. In the sense, we see chapter 6 Ashtanga Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. It talks about how Ashtanga Yoga should help you cut through the outside elements, cut through the internal elements, and be able to focus get to a samadhi state where you are able to experience or interact directly with the Paramatma. So until that point, it's a tough journey. Until that point, it's a very tough journey. Once you get to that point, you develop that desire and you experience the love of Lord. But in devotional service, you develop that very early in the game. If you are not able to develop the devotional service and are trying to reach to the point where you are able to interact with the Paramatma, there are chances that you could get disturbed at any stage, basically. So that's what happened in here with Saubhara Rishi. So when you have the powers of yogic powers, and you are depending on yogic powers, thinking, because of my yogic powers, I can control my senses. Controlling senses is trying to put those senses in a vacuum state. But the bhakti movement is not about controlling senses, but using those senses for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For using those senses, understanding that these senses are meant for the pleasure of Lord. Forcing yourself to use these senses for the pleasure of Lord versus realizing that these senses are meant for the pleasure of Lord and using them. There are three different things we are talking about. One, using the our senses for our pleasure. I would not call even pleasure, but for our sake. In the sense, in Saubhara Muni has the ability to control certain things, right? He has the ability to control his that's his power. He has the ability to control his sensory elements and sit in isolation, and then in a penance state, and to achieve that samadhi state, right? So a few things here. Then we also talk about in the neophyte bhakti, we tell people you should use your senses for the pleasure of Lord. Now, using your senses for the pleasure of Lord is using your time, using your everything for the pleasure of Lord. And you start that way, but at some point you have to understand these senses I'm using for the pleasure of Lord because otherwise I'm going to use them in the worship of Maya. That's to avoid Maya, you are using these in the senses in the pleasure of Lord is the starting state, but you have to attain to your point. These senses are meant for the pleasure of Lord, so I have no other option but to use them in the pleasure of Lord. You have to attain to that point. Basically, you have to attain to that point. Now, you always have the power of how you want to use your senses, right? We have certain powers. Every human being has certain powers. So Muni has certain powers through his yogic practices, and he's using his powers to keep himself in isolation and attain whatever he wants to. If you forget all this stuff, as an individual, we all have some power. We all have some power, right? The power you have, you are either becoming a teacher, doctor, engineer, or something else. Here, Saubhar Muni became a yogi. Saubhar Muni became a yogi. With our powers, what are we doing? With our powers, what are we doing? We are using those powers to attain a livelihood. We attain a livelihood, but with that, and honestly, with our powers, are we feeding Maya or Krishna? With our powers, whatever little powers are resulting into some materialistic thing, and in that materialistic thing, with that, if you are practicing bhakti, and if you are not able to 100% put Krishna in that bhakti, our powers will also become as useless as Saubhar Muni powers, and we will, our sensory elements also will seek for materialistic pleasure versus a spiritual purpose. You're understanding the differences, Prabhuji? Or I'm complicating this explanation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yes, it is easy to understand. So many times in Bhagavatam, sensual pleasures are not important. We have to use it for Krishna.
So, when and how will you use it for Krishna?
Hare Krishna
Because-
Prabhuji, like Ambarish Maharaj showed, like how we can see with the eyes, we can see Lord's form.
But in our cases, when does that happen? Bhagavatam, we are reading it, Balamad Matas. So many lectures we are hearing it. So many people are talking about it. But because they are doing, because Ambarish Maharaj has shown we should be doing like this. And Ambarish Maharaj did that not because this is how it should be used, because he believed in that this is the only way. The way to use it is a means of happening, but crossing that mental barrier, crossing that materialistic barrier. When I say mental barrier, it is crossing that materialistic barrier and understanding our sensory elements are meant for serving the Lord. Yes, Ambarish Maharaj showed how to do it. Somebody said how to do it. All these things will become figurative unless until you have reached that point of understanding. That's the only sole purpose of these elements. That is the sole purpose of these elements. That is what Saubhar Rishi story has to teach us. So let's try to go a little more on Saubhar Rishi story, and then we'll come back to the discussion basically. So what happened? The Saubhar Rishi saw these two little fish, enjoying themselves, and his desire his desire to have the similar feeling in his life. This is what it is. Trying to have that similar feeling in our life is what makes us go which way we want to go. Whether you want to have the similar feeling of Ambarish Maharaj, or you want to have similar feeling of the people that Ajamila has seen on his way home with the prostitute and her boyfriend, basically. It is similar to that, basically. What Ajamila has seen into human beings, Saubhar Muni has seen into little characters, two little fish, and it happened so. So Saubhar Muni thought, I am now feeble because of old age. My hair has gone grey, my skin is slack, and my head always trembles. Besides, I am a yogi. Therefore, women do not like me. Since the king has thus rejected me, I shall reform my body in such a way as to be desirable even to celestial women, what to speak of daughters of worldly kings. So what happened is, Saubhar Muni went to the king and explained him his desire. I want to get married. I want you one of your daughters. So king said, he looked at this man. He's old man. He's a yogi. But king cannot say no to a yogi. And what the king said is, I don't know which daughter to give you. I have 50 daughters. Because I promised you, I'll give you a daughter. So if any of the daughters, whoever wants to get married to you, you can marry them. So king was so confident that none of the daughters will like him. When the daughters reject him, there's nothing much Saubhar Muni can do, basically, because when the girl rejects him, he can't marry them, basically. Though the king has satisfied his desire, his word, but the act will not happen, is what the king thought. See, the story here, Saubhar Muni was thinking, I am an old man, I'm feeble and old age, my hair has become grey, my skin is slack, my head always trembles. Besides, I'm a yogi, therefore women do not like me. See, once the desire of wanting to get married has come, see, once the desire of the whole yogi is now looking at how to make himself look young with the yogic powers, rather than wondering why did he get this desire. You see what I'm saying? That's the power of Maya. That's the power with which your desires can take over your own powers. Your desires will misuse your own powers. The power of whatever materialistic power we have, when that gets in connection with a materialistic desire, your materialistic powers are now working only for the materialistic desire. The king with all his, Saubhar Muni with all his yogic powers, he looked at his gray hair and made it black. That's what most of us do today, right? We look at our gray hair and make it black, basically, because you have the power to make it black by putting some color on it, basically, right? And then what do we do? What else do we do? We have so many perfumes, so many sprays, so many creams that make your skin look younger. And then if not, there are so many surgical methods, which this is all power, similar powers that Saubhar Muni has. He has it because of his yogic this thing. We have yoga is that the yogic power is materialistic. We all also have this power because of our power to attain them and use them on our body for materialistic purposes. So what is happening in this whole story is Saubhar Muni is so much consumed by this materialistic desire. So he is using all his powers to look young, and he goes to the place where all the 50 daughters are sitting, basically. So thereafter, when Saubhar Muni became quite a young and beautiful person, the messenger of the palace took him inside the residential quarters of the princess, which were extremely opulent. All 50 princes then accepted him as their husband, although he was only one man. The story goes, the 50 princes were fighting with each other to see who would want to marry this wonderful, young-looking young man. And then they were fighting with each other. As the king said, whoever wants to marry, they'll get you married. All 50 wanted to get married to him. So he ended up with 50 princesses to satisfy his simple desire that he has seen in front of his eyes in the form of 2 fishes. So he ended up with 50 times what he wants. So this is exactly what happens when we start using our materialistic strength for satisfying materialistic things. So you end up with satisfying it 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times, so much so that you do not know what the purpose of our basic life is meant for. We forget the spiritual aspect of our life. When you have some materialistic achievement, feed the materialistic desire, the materialistic energy encapsulates your spiritual desire, spiritual energy, spiritual thought, and that keeps you away from God even more, basically. Something that we should all be careful about, basically. Right? So let's get to
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna
Prabhuji, it is so wonderful how Srimad Bhagavatam connects
Yes.
aptly to us, especially when you said, with whatever power Subba Rao Muni had to make himself look young and beautiful, which is so aptly apply to us also, Prabhuji.
Yes.
For a person like me, with whatever power we have, actually we are also trying for the same thing, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
By hearing the color and everything. When you said it appeals so much, Prabhuji. So Srimad Bhagavatam is actually giving us daily instruction.
Daily instruction, it has to do the soul surgery, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
soul surgery. Only one thing it has to do.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Therefore, the princess being attracted by Subba Muni. See, now the story has turned upside down. The princesses are being attracted by Subba Muni, basically. The sage is a sage who wants to look young, basically, right? Gave up their sisterly relationship and quarreled among themselves, each of them contending, this man is just suitable for me and not for you. In this way, there ensued a great disagreement. See, basically, when you are ready to accept materialistic world is fighting for you. This is what, if you turn on the TV, everybody, all you have to do is turn on the TV. All the advertisers are just trying to get your attention, basically. That's what all these women are doing, basically. See what, bro? One step, one small thought process, exactly this is what is happening in our own world. You step out of your house, you will see so many advertisements. Basically, they all want to draw your attention. Because you are the consumer, attractive consumer. Subba Muni declared himself, I am the consumer now, I'm attractive consumer. And so all the people, all the women are now fighting with themselves, forgetting their own relationship to get your attention. That's the power of materialistic world. That's the power of materialistic world. That's the difference between us and the rishis, rishi-like people. And the other day, I think I told you this last time also. I was driving with Gaurang Darshan Prabhu in the car, taking him from one point to another point. So there's so much of traffic, so much of speed, people are moving around. For only one thing, right? The world is filled with the passion, basically. The traffic is the reflection of passion in human life, basically. So there are shops both the sides. I was thinking shop by shop, which of the shops is really useful for him? There is a hair salon shop, he doesn't care. There is a clothes shop, he doesn't care. There's a shoe shop, he doesn't care. There is a meat shop that he doesn't care. There's a restaurant, he doesn't care. When you are driving, this is what road is filled with, both the sides of the road. None of them are useful for him. He doesn't care of single of, but all of them are useful for us. We are worried about all of those things only. Which shop is better? Which shop is nice? Where is to? See, that's the difference between somebody who has surrendered to spirituality versus surrender to materialistic world. We have to discover our own. We have to discover and fix our own surrenderness to the materialistic world when we read stories like Subba Muni. So he is no more. He doesn't have to do anything at this point. All he has to do is present himself. Then the 50 women are ready to serve him, basically. So that is the power of materialistic thing. When you are ready, you enter to the outside world. The world is ready to serve you. All that you have to tell is, I am ready. That's all. The moment you open your materialistic window, it is ready to be filled up by people. So this is the care. This is something that we should take care of ourselves. Otherwise, we will fall down like Subba Muni. Hare Krishna. Somebody wants to read this shloka for me, Prabhu? Shloka 45 to 46.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Translation.
Hare Krishna?
Thank you, Amma. Yes.
Translation, Prabhuji, or shloka
Yes,
also?
Mataji. Translation. Let's go. Focus on
Okay.
translation.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because Shaubhari Muni was expert in chanting mantras perfectly, his severe austerities resulted in an opulent home with garments, ornaments, properly dressed, and decorated maidservants and manservants, and varieties of parks with clear water lakes and gardens. In the gardens, fragrant with varieties of flowers, birds chirped and bees hummed. Surrounded by professional singers, Shaubhari Muni's home was amply provided with valuable beds, seats, ornaments, and arrangements for bathing. And there were varieties of sandalwood creams, flower garlands, and palatable dishes. Thus, surrounded by opulent paraphernalia, the Muni engaged in family affairs with his numerous wives. Do you want me to take the purport, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. We'll go 1 minute, Mataji. See, if you look
Yeah.
at it, what the shloka says, Subba Muni is expert in chanting mantras perfectly. His severe austerities resulted in opulent home. See, with his powers, with his material, with his spiritual, whatever, not spiritual, but really materialistic chanting mantras, he was able to create stuff. What did he create? Opulent home with garments, ornaments. If you turn on your TV, these are the advertisements you're going to see. Opulent home, garments, ornaments, properly dressed and decorated maidservants and manservants. All these things he was able to create. This is what you see. What I'm saying, Prabhuji and Mataji, this is what we also the whole world wants you to live with. Varieties of parks. This is how your villa advertisements are, with clear lakes, water, gardens. The gardens fragrant with variety of flowers. When I was reading this purport, I was just seeing advertisement after advertisement inside the television, basically. Birds with humming bees and surrounded with professional singers. Everything that is keeping you so comfortable in materialistic life. Subba Muni home was amply provided with valuable beds, seats, ornaments, and arrangements for bathing. And there were varieties of sandalwood creams, flower gardens, garlands, and palatable dishes. Anything else is missing, Prabhu? Any kind of advertisement that is missing? No. Thus, surrounded by opulent paraphernalia, the Muni engaged in family affairs with his numerous wives. This is what exactly capitalist world wants you to achieve in this world. This is what, if you can achieve, you are looked at as the greatest man in this world, as success. And that's what Subba Muni is enjoying at this point. Let's see why it's important to understand his success is because this is what he understands is responsible for his fall down. Let's read through purport, Mataji. Thank you so much, Anudipa Mataji.
Yes. Saubhari Rishi was a great yogi. Yogic perfection makes available 8 material opulences: Anima, Laghima, Mahima, Prapti, Prakamya, Ishiva, Ishitva, Vashitva, and Kama Vashaita. Shaubhari Muni exhibited super excellence in material enjoyment by dint of his yogic perfection. The word Bahvaricha means expert in chanting mantras. As material opulence can be achieved by ordinary material means, it can also be achieved by subtle means through mantras. By chanting mantras, Shaubhari Muni arranged for material opulence, but this was not perfection in life. As will be seen, Shaubhari Muni became very dissatisfied with material opulence and thus left everything and re-entered the forest in the Vanaprastha order and achieved final success. Those who are not Atma Tattvavit, who do not know the spiritual value of life, can be satisfied with external material opulences, but those who are Atma Tattvavit are not inspired by material opulence. This is the instruction we can derive from the life and activities of Shaubhari Muni. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada, wonderful purport, basically, right? So if you look at it, this is opulence. Like if you look at life of Elon Musk or some king of Saudi, this is the kind of materialistic opulent life they are leading to, basically. And this is what is this here. Subba Muni with his yogic powers, he achieved this. Person like Elon Musk, with his mental power, or with the power that he has, similar powers, basically, he achieved it, that kind of opulence in life, right? But again, as will be seen, Saubarmuni became very dissatisfied with material opulence and thus left everything and re-entered the forest in Vanaprastha order and achieved final success. We'll get to that story. Those who are not Atma Tattva, who do not know the spiritual value of life, can be satisfied with external material opulences. So see, the kind of people that are satisfied with material opulences, because they do not know the spiritual value of life. But those who are Atma Tattvit, are not inspired by material opulence, this is the instruction we can derive from the life of activities of Saubhari Muni. So what is that we need to get inspiration from the story of Saubhari Muni is, we have to nourish our spiritual value of life and not get being nourished by the material opulence. Right, Prabhus and Matajis, that's the greatest lesson we should take. Saubhari Muni, even after getting so much opulence, he thought for a minute, he realized for a minute, basically, oh, this is not what I meant to do, but this is where I ended up with. Mandata, the king of the entire world, consists of 7 islands, was struck with the wonder why he saw the household of, when he saw the household of Saubhari Muni. Putting you on mute. Saubhari Muni. Thus, he gave up his false prestige in his position as the emperor of the world. See, this is beautiful. Mandata, who was the king of the world, he saw the opulence of Saubhari Muni and he realized materialistic world is of no use, basically. He realized, he gave up his prestige. So he realized, Saubhari Muni, materialistic opulence or desire for materialistic enjoyment has actually helped Mandata to realize his position. Everyone is proud of his position, but there was an astounding experience in which the emperor of the entire world felt himself defeated in all details of material happiness by the opulence of Saubhari Muni. So two things to worry about here, basically. A supremely enjoying materialistic man was what do you call it? Humbled by the materialistic opulence of a rishi who gave up his spiritual practices for materialistic world. And the other way to look at it is the spiritual practice of materialistic man will become so little when, or his materialistic achievement. So that's when a person can fall from spiritual practice to such a materialistic excellence, that even the most materialistic king feels humbled by your materialistic achievement, basically. See the scale from which Saubhari Muni has moved from spiritual practice to the highest materialistic opulence, that it even humbled the greatest king of the earth, basically. So the person that is benefited from Saubhari Muni's fall down is actually Mandata. Mandata now realized his own. So what it means is, for us also, Prabhujis and Matajis, there is nothing. You never will get satisfied by hankering for materialistic success, because there'll always be somebody, and then you are going to be humbled by somebody. So you should understand the real purpose of life. And that kind of switch happened in Mandata by looking at Saubhari Muni. And Saubhari Muni, on the other hand, with his powers of yogic powers, he is growing materialistically to a point that he is also going to come down. But that's something we are going to see in the next sloka. This is something we have to be careful from the story of Saubhari Muni, that a materialistic success will only take us further in materialistic world, so much so that you are going to get yourself further away from spiritual world, basically. So when you see somebody more materialistically successful, it only means that, it should humble you to say this is not what is needed, and go in search of what exactly is needed, basically. Again, let's come back to Saubhari Muni's story. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed the sense gratification in the material world but he was not at all satisfied. That's the problem with materialistic world, because satisfaction of materialistic success has no end. Just as fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat, as long as you have the desire to satisfy materialistically, you can never get satisfied materialistically. As long as you have desire, you cannot get satisfied. See, normally when you have a desire, you work for it. Like, that's what the whole, what do you call it? 7 habits of effective people, or all those materialistic success stories talk about. The more you desire, you will get it. But so Sukadeva Goswami is saying, as long as you desire, you will not get satisfied. So Subba Muni enjoyed the sense gratification in the materialistic world, but he was not at all satisfied. Just as fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. The more you have drops of fat or the ghee is the desire, and that when the success never satisfies as long as you have desire for it. The end of success comes not while reaching the end line, but by removing the desire of it. You attain the success only when you stop the desire, not when you can actually attain something with it, basically. You're understanding the difference, Prabhus and Matajis? So the highest success is attained when you have killed the desire. Right. The purport. Can somebody read the purport for me? This is
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Chandramouli Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A material desire is just like a blazing fire. If a fire is continually supplied with drops of fat, the fire will increase more and more and never be extinguished. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. In modern civilization, everyone is engaged in economic development, which is another way of constantly dropping fat into the material fire. The Western countries have reached the summit of material civilization, but people are still dissatisfied. Real satisfaction is Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, where Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheswaram shraddam sarva bhutanam jnatva mam santim pritchati. The sages who knows me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. One must therefore take to Krishna consciousness and advance in Krishna consciousness by properly following the regulative principles. Then one can attain an eternal, blissful life in peace and knowledge. Hare Krishna.
So again here, Srila Prabhupada in his purports wonderfully connecting us back to Bhagavad Gita. So how the materialistic craving will take you away from spiritual progress. Materialistic desire is just like a blazing fire. If a fire is continuously supplied with drops of fat, the fire will increase more and more and never be extinguished. Therefore, the policy of trying to satisfy material desires by catering to one's material demands will never be successful. In modern civilization, everybody is engaged in economic development, which is another way of constantly dropping fat into material fire. The Western countries have reached the summit of material civilization, but people are still dissatisfied. Real satisfaction is Krishna consciousness. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. As I was mentioning before, so I'm actually in Visakhapatnam today, basically. So when I get out of my house, our house is situated not on a very rush road. You can easily cross the road, basically, with the traffic. The same thing if you're trying to do in Hyderabad, it's a very tough thing, basically, because people move very fast. Because in big cities, people are moving very fast. In smaller cities, if you go to a village, it's even easier to cross a road because there's not so much passion our passion is not what is the what you call primary factor of running the life. That's what is the primary factor of running the life in the Western world. that passion, because if you look at the speed, when you're traveling with so much speed, which means you're only feeding the passion in your mind to achieve materialistic things. That's direct reflection, direct what do you call it, function of passion, of speed is a direct in what do you call it, proportionate to the passion in people's life, basically. And that does not satisfy. That people are still dissatisfied. So what is the solution to it? Acknowledging it, and keeping Krishna in that passion, keeping Krishna in that speed. If not, you will get carried away by the passion in the society, by the speed in the society, if you fail to keep Krishna inside that passion. You see what I'm saying, Prabhu's and Matajis? The bigger city you're living in, the more materialistic passion takes it over. The more materialistic passion takes over, the more you will be away from spiritual life. So we, as people that are reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, should understand this and make an explicit effort to keep Krishna amidst that passionate world that we are living around, surrounded with, basically. And the reason, that is why we see when we go to villages, there is a lot more spiritual thinking compared to materialistic thinking in the big cities. They say, we are not able to make a living in the village, come out to the city, they will find something to, because the city is full of passion, full of materialistic passion that can easily give you materialistic livelihood for anybody. But if you want to, the other way, really, if you want like really spiritual progress, you want to go to Vanaprastha, because you want to go away from that passionate world, basically, where life is a lot more sober, a lot more slower, a lot more this thing, basically, right? So let's go to the next sloka. Therefore, one day, while Saurabh Muni, who was expert in chanting mantras, was sitting in a secluded place, he sat away from the opulent materialistic palaces that we talked about. He thought to himself about the cause of his fall, which was simply that he had associated himself with the sexual affairs of the fish. Just one small desire, that made me get attracted to, and then this took me to such a downfall state. Saurabh Muni was able to realize that. Somebody wants to read the purport, Prabhuji, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Shall I read?
Hare Krishna. Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Good. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that Saubhari Muni had fallen from his austerity because of a Vaishnava aparadha. The history is that when Garuda wanted to eat fish, Saubhari Muni unnecessarily gave the fish shelter under his care. Because Garuda's plans for eating were disappointed, Saubhari Muni certainly committed a great offense to a Vaishnava. Because of his Vaishnava aparadha, an offense at the lotus feet of his Vaishnava, Saubhari Muni fell from his exalted position of mystic tapasya. One should not therefore impede the activities of Vaishnava. This is a lesson we must learn from the incident concerning Saubhari Muni. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful explanation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. This wonderful purport refers to as the explanation from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So the reason why this all happened for Saubhari Muni is he did a Vaishnava aparadha, an aparadha. When Garuda wanted to eat this fish, Saubhari Muni protected that fish in love for the fish, basically. So Prabhuji and Matajis, why would Saubhari Muni go and do that? Why would Saubhari Muni go and do that? Protect the. Supposing Garuda comes and wants to eat a fish, and you are sitting next to it, are you really can protect it, Prabhujis and Matajis? But Saubhari Muni is able to protect it and protest Garuda's desire. So here few things are happening. And that resulted in an aparadh and a Vaishnava aparadh. And that the Vaishnava aparadh, so the Vaishnava aparadh resulted in Saubhari Muni getting attracted to the fish, and then that led to the downfall. Here, so when you are giving protection to the fish, when will you give that protection to the fish? When you realize you have the power to give that protection. So in the process, Saubar Muni did not think of Krishna. He did not think of the Lord. He depended on his powers to protect the fish than anything else. That is what we do. That is what we do. We depend on our powers to protect things that we think are important to us. In this process, if we are able to put Krishna in between, in the center of your ability, then you will not get hooked into the aparadha aspect of life. So any aparadha is a problem. Any aparadha is a problem. When do you do really an aparadha? When do you really do an aparadha is, you do not do aparadha in spiritual thinking. You do aparadha only when you think materialistically you are better than the other person. Your materialistic thinking will, if you look at any aparadha, it doesn't have to be Vaishnava aparadha. It is the materialistic power, the power that the power that empowers you to do aparadha is materialistic. Any materialistic achievement. Why somebody, you see, like two people are fighting. One of the person is shouting at the other person because he thinks he has an upper hand in the argument. Because owner shouts at somebody, an employee, because he thinks he's the owner. Because that's a materialistic power. The ownership of an organization. A parent holds a son because he thinks he has the power on the son. To some extent, yes, to correct the son. To some extent, keeping Krishna in the center and then acting. These are different stages of executing yourself, and in the process of executing oneself, is the materialistic energy that is taking upper hand, or is it the spiritual purpose that is taking upper hand? We'll have to question ourselves in every action. When we do not do that, we get into situations of where an aparad is being performed, and if that aparad turns to be a Vaishnava aparad, that is even tough to come out of. So much so that Saubar Muni has to use all his powers to look young, get married, build opulent palaces, and then reach a point of dissatisfaction because an act he did with the power of his materialistic empowerment that resulted in a sad situation for some other person who is a servant of the Lord. See, so it looks like two things basically. A Vaishnava aparad is a simple thing. A Vaishnava aparad means it is materialistic energy mocking of spiritual energy. Materialistic position insulting spiritual position. Vaishnava aparad means that. So when you do a Vaishnava aparad, we should avoid Vaishnava aparad, which means how can we avoid Vaishnava aparad? By constantly living in a spiritual position. There is no more materialistic position, insulting a spiritual position kind of situation. As long as you live in a spiritual position, spiritual thought, you are grounded. Materialistically, you are grounded. Once you are materialistically grounded, there is no room for any aparad. Forget about Vaishnava. Right, Professor Matajis? Is it confusing or it's okay? So
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu,
actually, Saubar Muni saved the fish.
Right.
Is it not a good act against God?
No, very good question. You tell me, is it a good act or not?
Giving shelter is good. rather than allow Garuda to eat. That is my question.
Yes, good question. Somebody wants to answer this?
Garuda's food is fish. So it has to have his food, no?
Okay.
So it has having its food.
Okay.
So as per Krishna relation, this will go into Garuda's mouth.
Okay. Any other explanations? So Lavanya Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Jiva Jivasya Jivanam.
Okay. And Mataji explain. You have to explain me. Here on mute, Mataji. So go ahead, Mataji. So this is how it goes, Bhagavan. Saving the fish or not, right? That is a simple act. Saving the fish is simple act. In the process, where is Krishna? The process, where is Krishna? I have the power to save the fish, I am saving it. Subba Muni, I have the power to save the fish, I am saving it. Krishna, how can I save the fish? Krishna, you help me save the fish. Krishna, if this is your desire that Garuda has to take this fish, let Garuda eat. Krishna, I want the fish to be saved. Garuda will feel compassionate to the fish immediately after that, if you put Krishna in the saving. Because in the process of putting Krishna in the saving, you are taking shelter of Paramatma rather than your own powers. The moment you have taken the shelter of Paramatma, Paramatma communicates it to Garuda, and Garuda will change his mind and leave away from it. We have seen these kind of things in Durvasa Muni and Pandavas when they're in Aranyavasa. Durvasa Muni, Duryodhana sends Durvasa Muni, and after Pandavas have finished their lunch and all that, and then Pandavas take the shelter of Krishna. Krishna as Paramatma has filled the stomachs of entire Durvasa Muni army, and so that they don't feel hungry anymore, and they have ran away from the feast place. Right? Here, Pandavas can fight and make them run away from the feast. Pandavas have the power to do that with their whole what do you call it? With their weapons, weapon power, which is their power. Weapon power is their power. But instead, they depended on Krishna's power. At the end act is they are not being humiliated by Durvasa Muni. And Krishna took care of them not being humiliated by Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni is satisfied, Pandavas are satisfied. So if Subba Muni wants to really save the fish, there's nothing wrong in the act of saving the fish. How much you take pride in using your materialistic energy in saving an act, doing an act, in this case, it's the act of saving the fish. And that in turn, the more materialistic energy you're using, the more shelter you're taking in materialistic power in doing an act, the more suffering the other person has, the aparat the other person has because of your act, and the other person has only the other person you only did aparat. Then the other person, Garuda has equal ability to go and kill Subba Muni or punish Subba Muni. But Garuda is the one who took the aparat. He became the victim of Subba Muni. But what Garuda might have done, I don't know the story. I have not read the Vishwanath Chakravarti original commentary on this. Probably he went and took shelter on Krishna. Hare Krishna, probably you wanted me to take Upavash today, that's why I could not get the fish. No. Garuda not taking shelter of Krishna and reciprocating the aparat, is taking control of the situation into his own hands. Then that is an aparat. Then Saurabh Muni, whatever he did, is just an aparat. Now, when Garuda took shelter of Krishna or Vishnu, it becomes Vaishnava Aparadha. You have created discomfort to somebody who is taking shelter of supreme power. That is what Vaishnava Aparadha is. So when you do when it doesn't automatically become Vaishnava Aparadha, it's an aparadha. But when that person is actually taking shelter and Vishnu, then it becomes Vaishnava Aparadha. Actually, she insulted. You see what I'm saying, Bhagavan? It's not about the act of saving. The act of saving is just a medium through which a Leela is being performed. A Leela is being performed. Whether it is a Krishna Leela or Maya Leela is what is in your based on our mind. Both are performing Leelas in our world. Krishna is performing Leelas, Maya is performing Leelas. Into which Leela we are falling into is our independence. That is what Vaishnava Aparadha. It's, yeah, when you read this, it's simply thinking that this is a Vaishnava Aparadha, that's why it happened, is a logical way of thinking. And our perception should not limit to logical way of understanding, but to see the spiritual way of understanding, to see the materialistic way of understanding. That is what Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita should help us. Simpler situations giving logical explanation. That is what any materialistic science book does, basically. So these situations should help us understand our position, understand Krishna's position in our life, and understand our position in Krishna's life. Right? That's
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry, I took a little more time than what it is, but yeah. So, alas, while practicing austerity, even within the depths of water, and while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons, I lost the results of my long austerities simply by association with the sexual affair of a fish. Everyone should observe this folder and learn from it. So Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj how Saubhar Muni has realized his position and how he is come back to his senses. Hare Krishna. The 51 shloka translation, will somebody read for me? I know this, we went a little over time, but I need another 10 minutes and we'll close it by 8:45, 8:50. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare
Can somebody
Krishna,
read this?
Prabhuji.
Balamani Mataji. Thank you very much.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. A person desiring liberation from material bondage must give up the association of persons interested in the sex life and should not employ his senses externally in seeing, hearing, talking, walking, and so on. One should always stay in a secluded place, completely fixing his mind at the lotus feet of the unlimited personality of Godhead. And if one wants any association at all, he should associate with persons similarly engaged. Perfect. Saurabh Muni, giving conclusions derived from his practical experience, instructs us that persons interested in crossing to the other side of the material ocean must give up the association of persons interested in sex life and accumulating money. This is also advised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
We'll go to the translation.
Yes. Alas, for a person seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification and seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. One who desires complete freedom from material bondage can engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He must not associate with Visai. Materialistic persons are those interested in sex life. Every materialist is interested in sex. Thus, in plain language, it is advised that an exalted saintly person avoid the association of those who are materially inclined. Srila Narottamadass Thakura also recommends that one engage in the service of the acharyas, and if one wants to live in the association, he must live in the association of devotees. Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sane Vasa. The Krishna consciousness movement is creating many centers just to create devotees, so that by associating with the members of such a center, people will automatically become uninterested in material affairs. Although this is an ambitious proposal, this association is proving effective by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By gradually associating with the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, simply by taking prasada and taking part in chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, ordinary persons are being considerably elevated. Saurabh Muni regrets that he had bad association even in the deepest part of the water. Because of the bad association of the sexually engaged fish, he fell down. A secluded place is also not secure unless there is good association.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you. Very powerful purport in itself, basically, right? So this is talks about association, how you should choose your association. Concludes Subba Muni giving his conclusions, derived from his practical experience, basically, how association can define what you are, right? People must not associate with materialistic persons. Vishai, and people are so much interested in materialistic progress, basically, because that kills your taste for spirituality. That kills your taste for. So this is the importance of association. Association of human beings, association of other living beings. How a small attractive act by two fish, really, can you imagine two fish fish's attractivity can keep a person falling down from such an exalted position, basically, where he's conquered so many things, basically, and because of so when you are sitting in isolation, you are in isolation, you are also big target of Maya. When you're isolation, Maya says, "Oh, this guy has no protection. Let me go after him." Basically, so this is the materialistic leelas in our life that happens, basically. So it is important, very important, how you maintain association and how you maintain the correct association, the association of the people that are making spiritual progress. Otherwise, even in spirituality, you can get Maya camouflaged into a spiritual association and take you down like how Subba Muni has fallen down, basically. So let's go to the next 3-4 shlokas, basically. In the beginning, I was alone and engaged in performing the austerities of mystic yoga, but later, because of the association of fish engaged in sex, I desired to marry. Then I became husband of 50 wives, and with each one of them I begot 100 sons, and thus my family increased to 5,000 members. By the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen and thought I would be happy in materialist life, and thus there is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life and in the next. Subba Muni boldly, lots of experience, is declaring that he's not going to be happy in this materialistic life or in the next life. In this way, he passed his life into household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from the material enjoyment. To renounce material association, he accepted Vanaprastha order and went to the forest. His devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband. So he went to Vanaprastha with his wife. So, but now it doesn't matter to him whether the wives are next to him or not, because he has the clarity of mind. Basically, you see, this is with the clarity of mind, he's ready to conquer the spiritual world. Basically, he's ready to disown. He's disowned the materialistic world. It now doesn't matter what advertisement is playing on the TV. Basically, right? When Saubhar Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penances. In this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This particular statement actually threw me apart, honestly. In this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you imagine, Prabhuji and Matajis, what this statement actually mean? So he, in this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the time of death, at the time when his body is burning, he is serving the Lord. He is engaged in the service of the Lord. Can you imagine that, Prabhuji and Matajis? Yeah? So let's see the purport. This is pretty powerful purport for me. At the time of death, fire burns his gross body, and if there is no more desire for material enjoyment, the subtle body is also ended, and in this way, pure soul remains. Right? So we all know at the time of, we have seen people in the funeral grounds being burnt, right? We know their materialistic body gets burnt. But here the subtle body also is burnt along with the materialistic body. So here, Saubhar Muni, as soul, the soul of beyond the body, is able to witness his body being burnt along with its subtle body. The soul is witnessing both the gross body and subtle body being burnt, basically, right? So that is not an easy task to achieve. Okay, this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Tyakta Fakya Deham Punarjanma Nahiti. So I think 4.9 shloka. If one is free from the bondage of both the gross and subtle material bodies and remains as a pure soul, he returns home back to the Godhead to be engaged in service of the Lord. Tattva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mamiti Arjuna. So Arjuna, he goes back to home, back to the Godhead. Thus, it appears that Saubhar Muni attained that perfection. This purport alone, we can discuss about it for 1 or 2 hours, basically. The relation between the subtle body, gross body, and how you can let both the subtle body also be burnt along with the gross body at the time of death. It is a practice that Saubhar Muni was able to achieve, not because he is great, more because he understood the transcendental nature of this world, and he rejected the materialistic nature of the world and became spiritual. O Maharaj Parikshit, by observing their husband progressing spiritual existence, Saubhar Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power, just as the flames of fire ceases when the fire is extinguished. Basically, here again, Sukadeva Goswami tells us how wonderful, how blessed is the wife whose husband who's spiritually inclined. So the wife gets automatically, but the spiritual benefits of the spiritual nature of the husband simply by following following him, basically. So again, here Srila Prabhupada explains as from purpose from Bhagavad Gita, basically. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, women are not considered very powerful in the following spiritual practices. But if a woman is fortunate enough to get a suitable husband who is spiritually advanced and is always engaged in his service, she also gets the same benefit of her husband. Here, it is clearly said the wives of Saubhar Muni entered the spiritual world by the influence of their husband. They were unfit. They were unfit, but because they were faithful followers of their husband, they all entered into the spiritual world with him. Thus, a woman should be a faithful servant of her husband. And and if the husband is spiritually advanced, the woman will automatically get the opportunity to enter the spiritual world. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 9th canto, 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Downfall of Subba Rao. Hare Krishna. So here, so many things to learn from this downfall of Subba Rao. How Subba Rao finally attained liberation. How Subba Rao's association brought liberation to his wives. How Subba Rao's association got liberation to his father-in-law. And these are the things we need to observe within our own lives. Subba Rao story is one of the classic examples. On something to think on, entering into year 2026, something to think on and see how the God in the form of time in the name of 2026 can alter our lives into spiritual progress. Hare Krishna. With that, we end this chapter. If anybody has any questions, let us spend a little more time, because I already took a little more time than 20 minutes more than what is supposed to be. Hare
Krishna Prabhuji.
The Prabhu,
you told this soul will witness the body when it is material body when it is burning.
Right. Yes, Prabhu.
అంటే అక్కడ అది కాలుతున్నప్పుడు మనం అక్కడ నిలబడి చూస్తుందా సోల్?
ఉంటుంది ప్రభు, విట్నెస్ చేస్తుంది. ప్రాబ్లం ఏమవుతుందంటే దాంతో పాటు సటిల్ బాడీ కూడా ట్రావెల్ చేస్తుంది, సూక్ష్మ శరీరం కూడా. సూక్ష్మ శరీరం ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటే సోల్ కా ఇండిపెండెన్స్ ఉండదు. సూక్ష్మ శరీరము దాన్ని నెక్స్ట్ శరీరానికి తీసుకెళ్లిపోతూ ఉంటుంది. కానీ ప్యూరిఫైడ్
అప్పుడు చూడదు కదా,
అప్పుడు అదే అంటున్నా, అది చూడగలిగే స్థితి సౌభార్ముని సంపాదించుకోగలిగాడంటే సూక్ష్మ శరీరానికి సంబంధించిన మనసు, బుద్ధి, అహంకారాన్ని వదిలిగలగాలి. భౌతిక ప్రపంచంలో ఉంటున్నప్పుడే ఆ మూడిటి తాలూకా ప్రోగ్రెస్ ని వదిలిగలగాలి. ఆ మూడిటి
వదిలేస్తే ఆ బాడీ కాల్చుని చూస్తున్నా,
ఇంక మిగిలింది ఏమి ఉండదు. శుద్ధాత్మ ఒకటే మిగులుద్ది.
అది
ఆ శుద్ధాత్మ స్థితిని మనకి అక్కడ ఆయన ఆ శ్లోకంలో చెప్పుకొచ్చారు. బేసికలీ
స్పిరిచువల్ కాన్షియస్నెస్ లో లేకుంటే వాళ్ళేం చూడలేరు. అయితే
శుద్ధాత్మ స్థితి ఎట్లాగుంటుందయ్యా అంటే శరీరంతో పాటు, స్థూల శరీరంతో పాటు సూక్ష్మ శరీరం కూడా మంటల్లో కాలిపోవడాన్ని చూడగలిగే స్థితిలో ఉంటుంది శుద్ధాత్మ తాలూకు పరిస్థితి. అటువంటి శుద్ధాత్మ స్థితి మనకి రావాలి.
అంటే సోల్ కూడా కాలిపోయేటట్లు.
సోల్ ఇస్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ద బాడీ. సోల్ తో సంబంధం లేదు,
సోల్ సంబంధం లేదు. ఈ మనసు, బుద్ధి, అహంకారం,
మనసు, బుద్ధి, అహంకారాన్ని కూడా ఆ మంటల్లో కాలిపోయగలిగే స్థితిలోకి మనం జీవితాన్ని వెలబుచ్చుకోగలగాలి.
అది అట్లా ఎదగలితే మనం చూడొచ్చు అనమాట.
అది అవును.
ఓకే, వండర్ఫుల్, ఎక్సలెంట్ ప్రభుజీ, ఎక్సలెంట్ క్లాస్.
So many things, Prabhu, so many subtle things are there in each and every purport, Prabhu. We could spend a lot more time.
Yes.
But again, still we can spend any amount of time, even little time also, we should be able to get that result, basically.
Yes.
As long as we are open to the transformative change in our human hearts.
Okay. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, ధన్యవాదాలు. Excellent class.
Thank you. Any other questions, Amma? Any other comments? Any other corrections?
హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభుజీ, దండవత్ ప్రణామం.
అమ్మా బాలమణి మాతాజీ చెప్పండి.
క్లాస్ చాలా బాగుంది ప్రభుజీ. ఎంత మనం ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తున్నా మనం అసోసియేషన్ లో లేకపోతే పడిపోవడం అన్నది మాత్రం గ్యారంటీ ప్రభుజీ. అసోసియేషన్ ఆన్లైన్ ఉంటున్నాం కానీ అది ఆఫ్లైన్ కూడా ఉండగలిగితే చాలా అదృష్టవంతులం, కానీ ఉండలేకపోతున్నాం ప్రభుజీ. ఎంతసేపు అసోసియేషన్ లేకపోతే జారిపోవడం అనేది మాత్రం కామనే.
So Amma, when you need association, you're not getting it offline, don't so much worry about it. Let us try, you, me, and everybody in that group. We have to come up with other ways to how we can nourish the online association even better. You come up with other ways to see how we can nourish it even better.
అదే ప్రభుజీ, ఎంత ఎంగేజ్ అయ్యి ఉన్నా ఈ మనసు బుద్ధి అహంకారాల ఇది పోదు ప్రభుజీ. దీని ఎఫెక్ట్ మాత్రం పోవటం లేదు.
అది పోవడానికి మనకున్న ఆన్లైన్ లోనే ఇంకేం చేయగలమో ఆలోచించండి, ఇంకేమైనా చేయగలమేమో ఆలోచించండి, దాన్ని మనం ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేద్దాం.
అదే ప్రభుజీ. కానీ చాలా చాలా బాగుంది ప్రభుజీ వాళ్ళ క్లాస్. అంటే ఎప్పుడు భాగవతం క్లాస్ ఎప్పుడు బాగుంటుంది, కానీ భాగవతం కాబట్టి అందులోనూ ఈవేళ డైరెక్ట్ గా అసలు కృష్ణ కాన్షియస్ కి మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ వే ఆఫ్ లివింగ్ కి డిఫరెన్స్ ఎంత బాగా ప్రతి పర్పట్ లోనే ఎంత బాగా రాశారు. అవన్నీ చాలా బాగున్నాయి ప్రభుజీ. మీరు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయడం కూడా చాలా బాగుంది ప్రభుజీ. ఎందుకంటే ఒక లాజిక్, మనం చిన్న లాజిక్ మిస్ అయిపోతూ ఉంటాం. అపరాధం అంటే మీరు చెప్పినట్టు ఏ అపరాధమైనా కావచ్చు కదా. ముందు వైష్ణవ అపరాధాన్ని పక్కకు పెడితే ముందు అపరాధాలు వదులుచుకుంటే వైష్ణవ అపరాధాలు ఎలా వదులుచుకోవాలో తెలుస్తుంది కదా.
అపరాధానికి రూట్ కాజ్ మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ సెక్యూరిటీ, మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ షెల్టర్.
అదే ప్రభు, ఎక్కడైనా మనకి ఎక్కడో ఒక చోట మనకి ఇలా డామినేటింగ్ ఇది కనపడుతూనే ఉంటుంది ప్రభుజీ. అది ఆ మెంటాలిటీ కనపడిపోతూ ఉంటుంది. అది పోవటం లేదు ప్రభుజీ.
భౌతిక పర్పట్స్ లో అన్నిట్లోనే రాస్తారు కదా, భౌతిక యాజమాన్యత్వము వదిలేయాలి. భౌతిక యాజమాన్యత్వం నుంచే దట్ మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ సుప్రమసీ, ద టెండెన్సీ టు డూ మెటీరియలిస్టిక్ సుప్రమసీ ఇస్ ద సోర్స్ ఆఫ్ అపరాధం. And we get nothing from aparadam. Spiritually zero progress basically.
అది ఎవరైనా కరెక్ట్ గా ఉండకపోతే కరెక్ట్ చేయడం అనే బుద్ధి కూడా పోవటం లేదు ప్రభుజీ. అది పోవాలి. అది నాకు పోవటం లేదంటే బేసిక్ నేచర్. అది టీచర్ కాబట్టి అది అసలు వదులుచుకోలేకపోతున్నారు. ఎక్కడ తప్పు జరిగినా నన్ను వెంటనే వచ్చేస్తుంది.
పాలిటిషియన్స్ లో పనిచేసే వాళ్ళకి వీకెంట్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటుంది. So don't worry. చెప్పండమ్మా లావణ్య మాతాజీ.
Very wonderful class, Prabhuji. Actually, it is an instructive class for 2026. Very nice, Prabhuji. So many things to learn. Especially, we have to be in good association to insulate ourselves from the Maya, Prabhuji. That is the best thing. Yeah. Even Bharata Maharaja had fall down because of no association, Prabhuji. Because he is an excellent devotee, but without any association, he could attracted to the deer. This is a very small thing, but nobody is there, like devotee association. Because of that, he could have to have another more 2 janmas. So that's what main association makes very easy for our devotional service, so that they can guide us and they can stop us wherever we are doing bad things. Yeah.
ఉందమ్మా క్లాస్, చాలా మైక్రోస్కోపిక్ గా ఉంది, చాలా విషయాలు.
So many things. Yeah. Vaishnava Prada. Excellent, Prabhuji. Actually, this is instructive class for 2026 for all of us. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Excellently told.
Sujata Mataji, you are saying something?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji class ని చాలా రోజుల తర్వాత భాగవతం క్లాస్ విన్నాను ప్రభుజీ. చాలా బాగుంది ప్రభుజీ. ఏంటంటే ప్రభుజీ, సారోముని ఇప్పుడు ఆయన హీ వాజ్ డూయింగ్ ద ఆస్టరిటీ కదా ప్రభుజీ, అక్కడ కూర్చుని చేస్తున్నారు ఆయన. సో ద పాయింట్ హీ మిస్రీడ్ ఇస్ లైక్ ద ఫిష్ ని ఆ గరుడ వచ్చి తింటున్నప్పుడు హీ డి నాట్ థింక్ అబౌట్ లైక్ కృష్ణ ఈజ్ టేకింగ్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ అబౌట్ ఇట్. అంటే అట్ దట్ పాయింట్ హీ మిస్డ్ ఆర్ వాట్ ఇట్ మైట్ బి ద రీజన్. మేబీ ఐ think like he is more towards Gnana rather than Bhakti.
Yes, Mataji. That he is more towards something else, but not Bhakti.
Not Bhakti, Saranagati. Yeah. ఇప్పుడు పాండవులు ఉన్నారు అంటే they are like completely surrendered to Krishna, and so that's why even whatever obstacles, whatever the things comes up, they are like, okay, Krishna is going to take care of that. Like that, they are in that kind of mood and they are completely surrendered. What about us, Prabhuji? Because if something is like that come up in front of, for the small thing, if you think about, ఇప్పుడు దోమలు ఉంటాయి, చాలా దోమలు ఉంటాయి. వీఆర్ యూజింగ్ ద బ్యాట్స్ అండ్ ఆల్ దట్. సమ్టైమ్స్ వీ ఫీల్ లైక్ either anything else we can do rather than this, because in front of us itself we are hitting or something or the other we are doing. Always ఇంట్లో చీమలు వస్తాయి. We are doing so many things. Now because of all of your classes or whatever it might be, we got in that kind of understanding that, oh, we should not do this, so we have to we have to do something else, like that. We got that kind of conscious, Prabhu. But like if the reality comes, we are not able to do anything. I don't know, like sometimes we feel like whatever we are learning, maybe we are not able to apply it, or otherwise we don't know how to do that. I don't know. Sometimes I was like, even kids, always we think like kids are God given, so we have to treat in such a way that we should give the God conscious to them. We are trying, we are thinking like, oh, give me that thing, like that. We are trying and we know the point, but I don't know where it is missing in everyday real life. I don't know, Prabhuji. Maybe because of not able to surrender, or completely not in that mood, or I don't know. Somewhere we are missing, like that, I feel, Prabhu.
So I don't know, Mataji. I'm also like you and struggling in the same world. When a mosquito comes, I think, like, I mean, does it look at me as a victim, or does it look at me as a customer, or does it look at me as a devotee of Krishna?
హరే కృష్ణ మంత్రం చెప్పుకుంటూ బ్యాట్ ఊపాలి మాతాజీ. హరే కృష్ణ మంత్రం చెప్పాలి. హరే కృష్ణ మంత్రం చెప్పుకుంటుంటే అవి విని ముక్తి చెందుతాయి.
Let us think it from its point of view, Mataji. Are we able to make it think that it is enjoying association of a devotee? Are we living up to that expectation? Can we make the mosquito think it is enjoying the association of a devotee? Are we living it to that expectation? So you ask your Paramatma, am I living it to that expectation? Then Paramatma will take care of it.
Yes, Prabhu.
Nizam Mataji.
Yeah.
All honesty, that should be an opportunity to give a Jivatma, an association. Right?
Yeah.
Muni should also, if he thought like, this me sitting here is associating, giving spiritual association to the fishes, rather than he took the materialistic association of the fishes.
Yeah.
Because he lacked, or he depended on his materialistic powers than spiritual powers. And spiritual surrender, depending on materialistic power versus spiritual surrender. So, I mean, does it really practically make a change that mosquito will not come and bite you anymore? Are we at that kind of state of mind? I don't think so.
Yeah. Yes.
వీళ్ళు ప్రసాదం తింటున్నారు ప్రభుజీ. వీళ్ళు ప్రసాదం తింటున్నారు కదా, వీళ్ళ రక్తం తాగితే అవి ఆల్రెడీ మానవ జన్మ వచ్చేస్తుంది వాళ్ళకి.
అంతటి స్థితిలో మనం ఉన్నామా అని మనం క్వశ్చన్ చేసుకోవడానికి దోమ హెల్ప్ చేయాలి. ఇస్ మై పాయింట్.
వీళ్ళ రక్తం అంతా కూడా ప్రసాదం కిందనే అనమాట దానికి.
అంతటి స్థితిలో మనం ఉన్నామా అని మనం క్వశ్చన్ చేయడానికి దోమలు చెవులు హెల్ప్ చేయగలగాలి. Mataji, yes, Mataji. Yeah, we have to explicitగా అపరాధం చేయకుండా జీవితం గడిపించుకోలాగా మలుచుకోవాలి. These are all challenges. These are all challenges.
Yeah, yes.
At least we are acknowledging that we have these challenges. That
that's what I was about to say, because of your association, at least got that conscious, at least I myself got that kind of conscious. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Prabhu.
You do any number of sins, but when you surrender, all God will look after it.
అమ్మా, మీరు ఎంత కొన్ని వేల వందల బ్యాంక్ అకౌంట్ డబ్బులు బ్యాంక్ లో పడిన కంటే కూడా ఇలాంటి పర్పట్, ఇలాంటి చాట్ తోటి ఫుల్ గా అర్థమైన రోజు పొందే ఆనందం ఎంతో విధంగా డిఫరెంట్ గా ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే this helps you rediscover your purpose in life.
Just the one which you talked about, Sukshma Sariramu kuda మెటీరియల్ బాడీతో పాటు ఇది కూడా కాలిపోవాలి అని చెప్పారు చూడండి ప్రభుజీ. దట్ పాయింట్ ఈస్ వీఆర్ డిస్కసింగ్ దిస్ ఆల్రెడీ వి డిస్కస్డ్ ఇన్ అవర్ లాస్ట్ క్లాస్, భగవద్గీత క్లాస్.
అది చదువు దీని రిఫరెన్స్ నేను మీకు ఆ క్లాస్
ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ ద సేమ్ ఎలాబరేటెడ్ వే లాస్ట్ మండేనే కదా మనము డిస్కస్ ద సేమ్ థింగ్ కేమ్ అప్ నౌ
ఇక్కడ నుంచే నేను అక్కడ మీ క్లాస్ లో చెప్పాను
ఎస్ ప్రభుజీ
క్లాస్ ప్రిపరేషన్ కోసం చదువుతున్నప్పుడే అది నన్ను అసలు మైండ్ ఇదే బ్లాక్ అయిపోయింది అది స్టేట్మెంట్
లాస్ట్ వీక్ మీరు చెప్పినప్పుడు దెన్ ఐ వాజ్ లైక్ దీస్ ఆర్ ద థింగ్స్ విచ్ యూ మేక్ అస్ టు థింక్ ఎ లిటిల్ బిట్ మోర్ ప్రభుజీ ఇలా మీరు చెప్తుంటే
ఇక్కడ క్లాస్ ఆపుదాం. ఏమైనా తప్పులు చెప్పుంటే క్షమించండి. నేను విన్న వాటి నుంచి చదివిన దాని నుంచి అర్థమైన ఏమైనా తప్పులు జరుగుంటే అది నా అర్థంలో తప్పులే కానీ ప్రభుపాదుల వారు కానీ వాళ్ళ దీంట్లో వచ్చిన మిస్టేక్స్ కావు. హరే కృష్ణ. నన్ను క్షమించి we'll move forward into 26 and into next chapter, next class. Thank you, Amma Shilpa Mataji. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So sorry you want to break it into 2 sessions, but I pushed you into 1 session because it was my selfish reason to talk more about Saubharmuni. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Class, so we'll move forward. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Send Mataji. Dandavad pranams.
Dandavad pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavad pranam.